Hello, I'm Colleen Gallagher, CEO at OnWrd UpWrd, and you're listening to the Association Insights podcast powered by OnWrd UpWrd, where each week we interview association leaders from across the country to hear how they're trying new things, taking big risks, and delivering value for their members. We'll explore the realities of what it means to work in and with associations and bring you the insights and inspiration you need to advance your career and make big changes at your association. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Association Insights podcast, powered by OnWrd and UpWrd. I'm your host, Colleen Gallagher. And this week, I want to talk about something that I think sits underneath everything we do in associations, but we don't always talk about it directly. And that's trust. Not just in a broad, abstract sense, but very specifically. Trust in your communications, trust in your voice, trust in your members, and trust from media, policymakers, and the industries or professions that you represent. Because if you really zoom out, trust is the thing that determines whether your members are going to engage, whether reporters call you back, whether your content gets shared, and whether your organization becomes a credible voice in your space. And right now, trust is both more fragile and more valuable than it has ever been. So let's look at the reality we're operating in. We are in a moment where information is everywhere, but also misinformation is everywhere, and audiences are more skeptical than they used to be. People don't automatically trust institutions. They definitely don't trust headlines, and they don't even trust experts in the same way they once did. I mean, take a look at the annual Edelman Trust Barometer to see how low trust is in government, in many businesses, in so much of our world today. And that absolutely impacts associations because historically, associations have been seen as credible, stable, and authoritative organizations. But that credibility can't just be assumed anymore. It has to be earned and reinforced consistently. And the challenge is, trust isn't something you can build overnight, but boy, can you lose it so quickly. You can lose it through inconsistent messaging, through silence if your audience is expecting guidance or wants you to speak out, or just through communication that feels disconnected from the reality that we're living in. Let's bring this a little closer to home and start with your members, because this is where trust either strengthens or just quietly erodes over time. Your members are constantly asking, does this organization understand what I'm dealing with? Does my association communicate in a way that actually helps me? Do I feel seen and represented? And this is where communications play such a critical role. Because trust isn't just built through those big announcements or a major initiative. It's built through the day-to-day experience of your emails, your content, your updates, how consistently you show up in a way that your members want you to. If your messaging feels generic, if it doesn't reflect real challenges, or if it just sounds overly institutional, members are going to start to disconnect. It's not going to be dramatic. It's probably going to be gradual, but that's what makes it dangerous. Because by the time engagement drops, the trust gap, it's already formed. So now let's talk about trust in the context of earned media, because this is where I think it becomes really tangible. And you know, earned media is where I like to spend a lot of my time thinking about and talking about. At the end of the day, reporters are making really fast decisions about who they trust, who they call, and who they quote. And those decisions are rarely based on your press release or your title. They're based on consistency and credibility built over a whole lot of time. When associations become trusted media sources, it's because they respond quickly, they provide clear, relevant insight, they don't overstate or exaggerate, and they consistently deliver value. And when you can't answer, you point them to a source that can, showing that you care that they get their story right. And I'll be honest, this is where some organizations unintentionally hurt themselves. Because if you're over pitching, you're providing vague or just promotional commentary, or you don't follow through, you lose that trust with reporters. And once that trust is gone, man, it's hard to rebuild. On the flip side, when associations show up with clear perspective, grounded insights, and a real understanding of what's happening in their industry, they become the go-to sources, not because they're trying to be, but because they are. They're trusted. They're truly trusted. I think another place this shows up, and where I think we're seeing a big shift, is in the CEO or executive director and leadership voice. I've been talking about this for the last couple months on my videos and in our podcasts, and there's this growing expectation that your leaders are visible, they're communicative, and they can provide perspective in moments of uncertainty. But it's not just visibility that doesn't build trust. Consistency does. Authenticity matters, especially in a world where we're seeing AI content all looking the same. Clarity certainly does. And, I've seen this play out in a couple very different ways. Some leaders, they show up consistently, they communicate clearly, and they're grounded in what their members are experiencing. And those leaders, they build real trust over time. Others, they show up sporadically. All of a sudden, they'll be posting all the time or speaking out on everything, and then they go silent. Sometimes they'll just only show up in very highly polished, formal ways. And it just doesn't land in the same way, because today people are looking for clarity over perfection. They want perspective over positioning and real voice over scripted messaging. One of our biggest things we tell our clients is you need to have a point of view. You can't just say something to say something. You've got to have a point of view for it to matter and for it to connect with people. Now, this is where I want to connect this back, but I'm trying not to repeat things I've already said, but connect to what we've talked about before around becoming the go-to source. Because here's the truth. You do not become the go-to source by just trying to be everywhere and everything to everyone. You become that go-to source by being trusted. And trust is built through showing up consistently, saying something meaningful, backing it up with real insider data, and reflecting the realities of your members. It's less about volume and more about reliability. When reporters, members, or stakeholders think, I trust what this association is going to say, that is when everything starts to compound. You're going to see more media opportunities. You're going to see more engagement. Visibility is going to skyrocket, and your influence is going to be felt. So if we bring this down to what this actually means in practice, especially right now, I think there are a few areas that associations should really focus on. 1, consistency over perfection. You don't need perfectly crafted messaging every time, but you do need to show up consistently. 2, clarity over complexity. Clear, understandable communication builds trust faster than overly complex messaging. 3, member-centered communication. This is where it's at. If your messaging reflects real member experiences, it's going to resonate and it's going to feel credible. And 4, follow through. If you say you're going to provide value, whether that's insights, updates, or resources, you've got to deliver on that, because trust, it's all built in the follow through. So as you think about your comm strategy, your PR strategy, your leadership visibility, whatever it is that's on your mind today, I'm going to encourage you to zoom out and ask, are we building trust with every interaction? Because that's really the metric that matters. Not impressions, not clicks, not placements, but are we becoming a voice that people trust? Because when you have that, everything else becomes easier. And with that, thanks for tuning in. I hope you join us again next week on the Association Insights podcast, powered by OnWrd and UpWrd.
And that's a wrap for today's episode. The Association Insights podcast, powered by OnWrd and UpWrd, is a production of OnWrd and UpWrd Marketing and Communications, where our mission is to make associations and nonprofits the go-to source in their industries through earned media and thought leadership. This podcast is an extension of our newsletter, a weekly collection of best practices, top trends, helpful ideas, and smart strategies delivered straight to your inbox. Have you undertaken a big change at your association? Or do you have some words of wisdom from the trenches of association life? Well, we want to hear from you, and so do our listeners. Drop us a note at info@onwardupwrd.com. That's info@onwrdupwrd.com. Be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share with your friends and colleagues. We're available anywhere podcasts are found. Come back next week for more association inspiration and insights. Thanks for tuning in.